There's not a lot of college basketball coaches that can say the first time they coached against Dean Smith, they won. This morning's guest can. You'll meet him. Coming up next on Carolina People. Good morning. Welcome to Carolina People. This morning we're at Advanced Audiology and Hearing Aid Center off of Highway 17 at 6th Avenue South in North Myrtle Beach, right across from the main U.S. Post Office. We're focused on the upcoming season of Coastal Carolina University men's basketball. And we're visiting with its head coach, Coach Cliff Ellis. Good morning.
It's a pleasure being with you.
Coach
Where the pancakes?
Ellis.
Where the pancakes?
I know, 7 a.m. It is a little early. Thank you for getting up early to get in here. I love that green shirt. That's good looking.
Well, it'll go with a lime that we'll squeeze over these pancakes a little
Listen
bit.
up, you're getting hungry already? We're going to have to stop the show. Guys, let's see. Yeah, we got to roll out of here early on. You passed an IHOP on the way up here, didn't you?
I hear you.
Yeah.
That's right.
You'll be heading back
And a Waffle
there.
House.
And a Waffle House. And there's a Denny's across the street.
They've got it all in Myrtle Beach, I can tell you, in North Myrtle Beach and the Grand Strand, so to speak. It's
Absolutely. It's a tremendous area. Thank you so much for coming in
pleasure.
Early. And, of course, the excitement here. Coming in early is not what is applicable as it relates to you coming in as a coach. You're coming a little late in the game.
Did take the job late in July. Unusual time for a coach to come in because basically the recruiting process has been done, and,
right.
What you try to focus in school fixing to start when you're in July, of course it has started now, but you really focus in on the players, making sure that they stay happy, they transition, they're wanting to understand who this new coach is,
right.
And a lot of questions to be asked, so you jump right into this basketball team, and I've enjoyed meeting this team and players. It's been an enjoyable experience for me. They all have stayed, and we're looking forward to this season, but recruiting, you're somewhat behind because you're just getting started for this upcoming year. Other schools have kind of been ahead of you, but we've really made up some great ground, and I mean, I'm just excited about this basketball team, the players that are here, that we have caught up in recruiting, and I look forward to the experience at Coastal.
Having only been here a couple months, did that give you an opportunity to try to get in touch with Coach Peterson a little bit to talk about some of the players, why he picked certain ones or really worked hard on recruiting some?
Buzz and I have been friends for some time. When I coached at Clemson,
right.
He was a player at North Carolina, and
right.
I had respect for him there. I tried to recruit him. At the same time, he coached at the University of Tennessee while I coached at Auburn, so we were in the same conference, so we've known each other. And he's a fine man, fine basketball coach, and we did have a chance to visit, and he did share with me his thoughts about this particular team, the players and the personnel, and gave me some good insight.
I think I saw and read about you had retired there at Auburn in the early part of this century and had a little time off to reflect back on coaching.
Missed it, did television work for a couple of years and missed it tremendously. I really missed the game. And when the opportunity came at Coastal and started talking about it, having coached at Clemson, I was familiar. There's a lot of Clemson fans in this area.
Oh yeah,
And I spent time in Myrtle Beach, and there's some not only great Clemson people here, but fans of other schools. It's just a tremendous following. People love the athletic end of it here. But I enjoyed the community. I was raised on a different coastline, the Gulf of Mexico.
Is that right?
In Florida. So I love a coastal atmosphere, and when it came the opportunity to look, naturally Myrtle Beach drew me into it. Having been at Clemson, I understood some of the things about Coastal, and it's amazing what Coastal Carolina has done as a university.
Oh yeah.
And the vision that is there, it's the one I think they have. First of all, a tremendous board of trustees. That's where your leadership comes from. And then President DeCenzo, I've enjoyed getting to know him. I think he's going to give the leadership for this university on the campus and with the staff and the coaches that's needed. And
Sure.
Athletic Director Warren Moose Kogel
Right.
has the background having played at Penn State and done a number of things administratively and also as a coach. Great leadership. So those were things that intrigued me, and I jumped back into it.
How exciting. And, of course,
Absolutely.
the opportunity to be in with other coaches. Just for viewers who may not understand how that works, do coaches oftentimes get together, even in other sports? For instance, would you all get together with Moose on a regular basis, or is that sporadic, or is it more one-on-one?
Well, I tell you, the one person that I knew coming into this Coastal Carolina community and to the university was David Bennett, the football coach.
Yeah, of course.
He was a graduate assistant when I was coaching the basketball team at Clemson, so I remember him. He was a little snotty-nosed kid back in that. But what a job he's done.
Oh,
and he's been an asset to me because he's kind of given me some insight. He knew me at Clemson.
Right.
Coach, this is what you can expect. These are some things that he's been an asset.
That's
he really
great.
has.
That's great. Did you play basketball growing up? You shared with us that you're not a Palmetto State native. You're from the...
I did. I wasn't fortunate enough to be a player that I could go on and play at a high level, but I loved it. I played. I could shoot. I had slow feet, but I really always had a passion for the game. Perhaps not being the greatest player, that passion I never burned out as a player. I always had that desire and passion to stay around the game, teach it and coach it.
Right.
Started out as a junior high school coach and then worked my way up from junior varsity to high school to small college to eventually major college. And
Right.
now I find myself at Coastal, and this is my 37th year.
That 37th year,
37
not
years.
continuous, obviously, because of that
Absolutely.
little gap, but
Absolutely.
it had been continuous.
So don't start adding up the years.
That's
You
right.
figure it out real quick.
We're not going to put you on. We're thinking about pancakes now, not about age.
good.
That's right.
Good.
You're
Maybe
getting
some
hungry.
bacon over here.
Yeah, a little bacon too. That's right. We are in the Palmetto State. You know, did you play other sports growing up?
I did. I was a jack of all trades and king of none. I did. I love golf. I was probably baseball was perhaps my favorite sport as a young kid. In those days, Little League Baseball was probably your first time to compete athletically in anything.
Right.
You learn to compete, and I loved baseball, but I played just about every sport. Baseball and golf would have been my favorite outside of basketball.
Is that right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. I got to say, you mentioned jack of all trades, king of none. We're not going to spend much time talking about you as an author, as a singer, as a gourmet cook, and as an ostrich farmer, but there's got to be that in you as a jack of all trades. I don't know where I saw that, but I had to write those things down. Of course, so many folks are fascinated when they think about coaches, about who are some of their mentors. Are there folks that really stood out in your mind growing up that really made a difference for you and made you want to think about coaching as a career?
Well, there was. First of all, the coach that really taught me as a young kid was a big influence in my life, Philip Roundtree from my hometown of Chipley, Florida. He taught me to swim. He taught me how to play baseball, basketball, all those things.
Really?
But also, as I got into coaching, Hugh Durham, who was the basketball coach at Florida State University at the time, went on and had a great career. He's now retired. He meant a lot to me. I learned a lot from him. Mm-hmm. John Wooden, I was able to spend time with him. Mm-hmm. Denny Crum, who coached with John Wooden.
Right.
Jimmy Earle, who was the basketball coach at Middle Tennessee State University when I was in graduate school. Those are the guys that I really would sit down and talk with and find out what made them click.
Right.
And then I wanted to be myself, and I wanted to know how they did it. So, coaches, we all learn from other people. So I took what each one of them did, and I thought that they did the best. Mm-hmm. And then I put it into my personality, and it's like these pancakes.
Yeah, we are getting hungry. Viewers are going to wonder, they're tuning in right now, where are the pancakes? Where are the pancakes? What, was there a common theme that went with all five of those men that you talked about?
Absolutely.
Some of the others? Well, what are a couple of those themes?
Up-tempo basketball. And this one you got to keep in mind. I started coaching in the late '60s, early '70s.
Right.
And I felt that an up-tempo game was what was needed from a spectator standpoint. That players enjoyed playing this game, fans enjoyed watching this style game. So I wanted an up-tempo type game.
Are there
offensively and
folks,
defensively.
yeah, are there folks that can win without an up-tempo?
Absolutely.
I mean, who are some superstars that don't have
Princeton.
up-tempo? Yeah.
Princeton's the best example.
Right.
They do a great job of slowing the tempo down and being able to win, and
Right.
cut the possessions down, and they've been successful with it.
Yeah. I grew up in Durham, and of course, for many years attending
that?
games.
Where's that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, that's right. The little
I played
State.
too many games
yeah,
there.
I'm sure you did, and I was
My
sitting.
record there is not real
That's
good.
right. Unfortunately, I was sitting right across from you because so many of we were sitting in this 13th section, the 6th row, always in the same seats forever, and it's across from the opposing bench. So
You won it through the tennis ball.
well, that may have been my dad, but it's he's a big guy, so he would have stood out. Playing there at Cameron, of course, being there, but seeing a coach when Coach K arrived in Durham in I think 1980 or 81, to think about what's happened over a almost 30-year career for him in that same town. And for you, the experiences have been with a Division I opportunity, I think started at North Alabama or in
University of South Alabama. I actually started at Cumberland College.
Okay.
I was 26 at the time. I went
Wow.
to Cumberland College, and then I went to the University of South Alabama at age 29. That was a Division I program. And you bring up a thought here. I was the youngest Division I coach at the time, along with one other person. Mike Krzyzewski.
Coach K? Wow.
He was at Army.
At West Point. Okay, yeah.
So he was
right.
at Army. I was at the University of South Alabama. So we started our careers at the same time.
Right.
And we actually played the following year, University of South Alabama against Army. So the two youngest head coaches competed against each other.
And you're going to let us know who pulled that off?
Well, we won that one, but I will say this: he got it back.
He paid back.
He paid back at Duke, because Duke Clemson series. We were able to win some good games against Duke, but Duke certainly he's one of my good friends.
Yeah, sure.
And what a job he's done,
Right.
and he's so good for young people. I'm so glad that he's still with the game, because he has so much to give.
Early this morning, when I wasn't thinking about pancakes, I asked our director, what are some good thoughts, since I'm not a basketball player, what are some good thoughts to talk to Coach Ellis about? And he said, well, that aspect about the locker room at halftime, both the flip side, whether you're losing or you're winning, and you're thinking about being a fly on the wall in Coach K's locker room when they're up or down. But what are some of the things that you're doing at halftime, let's say when you're winning? What are some of the ways you're talking to the players?
Well, when you're winning, you don't want to be satisfied. You got into the locker room with a lead, and you got to it a certain way. And what you don't want to do is have it spoiled. So you want to make sure that they go back out on the floor the same way that they entered it to enter the game. Because the other team is going to try to find that way to come back on you. So you've done some things pretty well. So you want to just make sure that you're not satisfied as a basketball team. That's probably the biggest theme. A lot of adjustments and things that you saw the team do. How did it help you be successful? What did you do well to help this? Now, as they come back, what can you look for them to do to make changes themselves? Be ready for it. But the main thing is don't be satisfied.
Right, and obviously if you're losing, you're clearly not satisfied.
Well, you can't be satisfied. At the same time, I don't think that you can bring the team down to a point where they go out of the locker room. They're already, instead of their chest sticking out, they're already... they're not feeling good. They're not feeling good about themselves necessarily. But you want to focus in on getting them up. These are things you can do. You talk about if you're down 6 or 8. You don't talk in terms of 6 and 8. You talk about, well, we're down 3 possessions, and we can get this back. But these are things that we have to do, and you make the adjustments that you need to make based on what that team did to get them the lead. And so you try to focus on the fact of what you didn't do, at the same time try to be positive, unless they just absolutely let down on you, where they just weren't trying. But if they were given the effort, then you focus on staying positive, and you want to be as positive as you can. That's just my philosophy. Right. Even in a negative situation.
Oh, yeah, those are key words. I got to say, you said 37 years of coaching, so I'm afraid you may have broken that 6-decade gap yourself. And I know you'd like to now focus back on pancakes, but how do you communicate with kids 18, these are young men, 18, 19, 20, as I hate to say it, a 60-plus-year-old man?
Well, as you did with your own, as you do with anybody. I think communication is very simple. If it's all about the truth. If you're honest, Yeah, and you're right. You want this basketball team to build on your experience. And I tell people this over and over again. If I were to have heart issues, and I had a choice, then and there were two people that came to me. This guy graduated from Harvard, where your dad played basketball.
Right.
And he was a straight A student.
Right.
And he came in and he was top of his class. And I had this other guy that he's done it 15,000 times. And he's got a 98% success ratio. Now, the guy from Harvard, straight A student. Now, he's pretty good. He's pretty sharp. But he's done it 10.
Right.
Now, where are you going to have your heart done?
Oh, yeah.
I know where I'm going. I'm going with the experience of the guy that did it right. So that's what you convey. Hey, this is what we do. This is how we do it. Jump on board. It will help you. I'm going to help you be the best basketball player you can be. But not only that, I'm going to teach you about the experience that I've had in life. This is what you need to do. This is what you can't do. It really becomes easier to communicate. You become a father figure.
Right.
And it's either easier to be a father figure at this age than when I was 29, and I was just a little bit young, a little bit older than the guys. I wasn't really a father figure.
Oh yeah. Any of those
and
players.
And I'm not cutting you, but I think the people that, if you look at today's game, who are the successful coaches? That Mike Krzyzewski.
Right.
So how does he communicate? It's gotten easier. Lute Olson at Arizona. I could go on and on.
You think it's gotten easier? Yeah.
Well, I just think that generation that I came from may be the wisest that the game has ever seen.
Right.
Because of the experiences that we had. And if you look at the coaches that really are ultimately successful, look at the group and the generation that I came from. A lot of Roy Williams, Gary Williams, and I can go on and on.
Oh, yeah, sure.
I can go on and we'll cut people off. But there's some fine young coaches.
It's tough to start naming people. Yeah. That's right. You think back to your early days of coaching. Were there ever folks you almost were scared to coach against because they were such big names, whether it was a Dean Smith or something?
Well, I never had a fear. That's what made me go to Clemson, really and truly. I was at the University of South Alabama, and we built a top 10 program, and the Atlantic Coast Conference job came open at Clemson, and a lot of people told me, you don't need to take that job. Clemson's at the bottom of the barrel, and you've got to beat Dean Smith, you've got to beat Jimmy Valvano, Lefty Driesell, Terry Holland. Bobby Crimmins had it going at Georgia Tech.
Sure.
And a lot of people shied away from that. I wanted that challenge because I knew that I could handle my own, and I knew that they would have the tradition of those programs to have recruiting go more their way. But I knew when we got on the floor, they were going to have as tough a match as they could have. And the first time we played Dean Smith, we won. So he won his share of games. He's won more than anybody.
Yeah.
But that was a confidence builder to be able to go in and win that game the first time. But Dean Smith is one of the greatest all-time coaches that we will ever see. But there are also some coaches that have come along. But I've never had the fear of coaching against anybody.
Time is flying. We've only got about 5 minutes. We think about that aspect of players and being a father figure. You think back 40 years, 35 years ago. Are there any of those players you've maintained that relationship, a father-son type relationship over the years?
Well, I try to maintain a relationship with all of them as it grows. You stay in contact a lot of times by mail, but I try to talk to them every year.
Sure.
But even a guy on my first college team, Charles Fishback, his wife went through some health issues. I made sure that I called. You want to know what's going on in their lives. I ended up coaching his son.
Wow.
Which was a great experience. The dad played for me at Cumberland College. The son played for me at Auburn. But I do try to maintain contact. It's something that is important.
Some players, not to cut you off, some players that really stand out in your mind over those years of coaching. Or how about a player, these are young men, 18 to 21, 18 to 22. How about a player that's made a big difference on you as a coach that really is, as opposed to focusing on the player as someone who went on to do something, someone who maybe taught you a lot?
Well, I think going back to the first college team that I had, I was 26.
Right.
I was scared at that time. I was nervous. I was afraid. I wasn't going to fail. I just was going to make sure I didn't. And I went in as a 26-year-old coaching a college team. And so I had guys, again, that I wasn't much older than. And Charles Fishback was a guy on that team. He was a point guard. And he was a guy that as I coached, if he saw something that I might have been, he would come and talk to me about what we needed to do as a basketball team. His team ended up being 34-2 one year, fourth in the nation.
Wow.
At that level. But I would say he probably set the tone for me as a basketball coach. And I've had a lot of great players that played in the NBA, but I'm going to have to say that Charles Fishback really led the way.
Right.
For that team.
How about some assistant coaches that really stand out? Those guys are folks that you've mentored. I'm sure there's lots.
There's your meat and potatoes. I've had a lot of tremendous assistant coaches over the years, and am very pleased with them. Bobby Lutz, who's the head basketball coach at the University of North Carolina, Charlotte. He's a guy that I helped start. He was actually at Clemson when David Bennett was there. He was a guy. Rudy Washington, very proud of him. He was on the staff at Clemson, and he became the president of the Black Coaches Association, was a commissioner of a conference. You know what? You start going naming names.
Remembers, I know.
And then you get it. Because why didn't you mention my name?
That's right.
There's all of them. All my coaches and all my players. I'm proud of all of them because I wouldn't be where I was.
We remember seeing Coach K and seeing Tommy Amaker and other guys that we would watch play for him there at Cameron, and then later come back. Even maybe Johnny Dawkins, seeing some of these guys who came back to be tremendous assistant coaches for him, along with so many others. And of course, you think about coaching and the impact that can have on these young men and their families and all the other folks that are involved. It must be a great feeling.
Well, making a difference in people's lives. And that's whether you're coaching, whether you're doing television work, whether you're a doctor. Make a difference in people's lives, because we're here short term, really and truly. Basketball gives me the avenue to be able to make a difference in young people's lives, and that's what I get my most fulfillment out of, is helping young people to have the day that they come back and say, Coach, I really appreciate the fact that you helped me. That's bigger than any win, bigger than any championship. That's the biggest winner.
Those are great words. We just got a couple of minutes. You've just signed a 5-year deal with Coastal Carolina University. Hopefully it'll be 50 years. I mean, the opportunity, you'll be playing a lot of big games. How do you prepare for big games?
Well, you take it a day at a time. Again, you focus on the day that you have, that particular day, and you make the most out of it, and you don't look out here too far ahead. Take that day, whatever that game is, make the most out of that day. Just do the best that you can. We sometimes try to make it more difficult than it is, and I think we just need to focus on the day that we have and be the best that we can be that day. And then it all falls into place. And then you look back at the end of the year and say, wow,
If you hadn't taken that first coaching job, whether it was on a college level back at 26, you knew surely with JV and then high school coaching that you were thinking seriously about it, and you'd gone to school on your own. I mean, what do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't become a head men's basketball coach?
I would have definitely been working with young people in some capacity. I mean, I love children. I love young people. I would have been working somehow, some way with young people. I know that.
There's something about youth that really drives you? Is there something, is it just the learning capacity? What is it?
Helping them, making a difference in what they do, helping them in life, helping them with whatever their skill level may be. I just get a thrill and a passion for that. And even down to, I've got 2 grandchildren, but watching them and just working with a 3-year-old,
getting on your knees,
7-year-old.
Good.
How can I help this little thing be better? And that's and that's what even basketball camps in the summer for. I love love kids coming. Always loved kids to come to my basketball camp and get my entire family there. And let's, take that kid that this is not a college basketball player, not necessarily going to be a pro player, but let's help that kid have a great experience and have something positive and make a difference, and have them walk out and say, hey, I learned something here.
I'd love to ask 9 more questions, but we've run out of time.
Absolutely.
Thanks so much for being with us, Coach Ellis.
It's a pleasure.
Yeah, thank you for that. Stay tuned to more Carolina People with head men's basketball coach Cliff Ellis coming up next. Get that out. October 12, practice begins. The season kicks off Friday, November 9th. Of course, you can go online to see the schedule, coastal.edu. Coastal.edu. Even though the coach is thinking about pancakes early on a Friday morning, you're probably sitting home making pancakes, laughing at the guy who's hungry. He'll head out of here and get some. We heard some great letters, heard him talk about some great mentors early on. And it's not just coaches, also players, hearing him talk about Charles Fishback. And some of these great letters are early in the alphabet, whether it's Coach Chipley or Denny Crum or Coach Ellis, these CDs. We got a D in there, Hugh Durham. He skips on down to John Wooden, but also thinking about those players. That Fishback, that letter F, that sticks out in his mind. There's a lot of players over a 37-year career. He couldn't even start naming any of them. You heard him start to pull back as he started naming names because it started triggering great things in his mind. You'll see it on the basketball court at Kimball Arena. Get out there. Also, you can catch him on TV, I'm sure. Kimball Arena this year. Season kicks off Friday, November 9th. www.coastal.edu.